Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. Please continue to pray for my art career by leaving a dislike on this video. I'm shooting for 100 dislikes. Next week, I got a number of ambitious art projects. I have finally found a good location to do the metal casting again, and I figured out some secrets. So here's what my favorite pour. Unfortunately, this one wasn't perfect. It had a crack in it, but more importantly, I figured out how to get these nice crystalline structures in the back of it. You may remember in previous pours, bismuth would bulge out, make a mess, and then you would have to sand, right? And I finally figured it out. I had one of these molds that was kind of aging, and it didn't work anymore for the pour. But what I could do is use that old one to, after pouring bismuth into the good mold, I'll put the old one on top of it, and the back will form these intricate crystal structures. The timing is very important, though. You want the outer rim of the bismuth to freeze before you put the second mold on top of it. But I figured some things out there, right? It's a lot easier to do too, right? Sanding is a huge hassle in its own right, especially for me because I hate to lose any of the bismuth after I'm sanding. And so I collect all the bismuth shavings together, and I put it into with along with the rest of the slag into the furnace for the carbothermal reduction. And even the sandpaper, after I'm done using it, goes into the furnace as well. You're going to need some organic matter anyway, right? So the paper acts as the reducing agent to turn all that slag back. But it's messy, right? And so with this, I don't even need to sand anymore, right? So here's a four-leaf clover that I'm working on, but it's very thin and brittle. So what I'll probably do is put this into a frame with like 10 of them. You saw it with the Buddhas, right? And so I'll probably be busy with this next week. Got an art show on December 8th. December 8th is a very lucky day for me, by the way. It, on December 8th, 2011, I started writing AI for various computer games. So hopefully it'll bring me some good luck. And then obviously last week I put together a chess set for Japanese chess of Chu Shogi. It's got 92 pieces. So I hope to make all of the pieces in Chu Shogi are also used in Da Shogi. So I need to add a few more pieces. Hopefully tomorrow I'll go to Hobby Lobby. Hopefully they have enough of these wooden tiles for that. I'm also working on Mondrian squares. I just recently got a pack of cardstock paper, 5 different colors, and I hope to put together squaring the square. Uh, one of my biggest disappointments with my art career, and I hope to change that, is that if you had asked me 2 years ago, so imagine you told me, Peter, 2 years from now, you're going to be lugging 2 tons of bismuth to every art show of Buddhas, of four-leaf clovers, of various coins that I've designed, and some crystals and geodes, and you're also going to be making large shogi sets, right? Handmade, right? Hand carved and everything, and Mondrian squares out of uh, uh, various cardstock paper, foil paper, even, and eventually even foil made of gold, silver, and copper. Right? If you had told me that, I would have thought I would have made a lot of connections. Right? I would have had a big pool of connections to choose my future life partner from. Right? I would have assumed that. Right? Well, all of those art projects have come true, but that hasn't happened. Right? And so that's my biggest disappointment with my art career. I have made considerable amounts of money. Not money that I could live on, but money that has given me a lot of cushion, right? So for example, every month when I look at my bank account, a shock, right? Where all this money come from? And so I I'm getting ready to negotiate contract work for next spring. I teach at a community college. And one of the big problems, especially if you teach the kind of classes that I teach, I really deserve some hazard pay because of this, in my opinion. I'll have to think about how to negotiate that. But one of the big problems is that they reserve the right to cancel these contracts. And so I'm negotiating with 3, 4 different campuses, and there's 5 or 6 classes that I want to teach, and I really don't have the bandwidth to teach 5 or 6 classes, but I don't know which one's going to get canceled, and so I sign all of them, and knowing that I can't do all of them, right? It's a weird feeling to sign something, knowing that you're depending on some of the contracts to get canceled. It's a very weird feeling. It feels like fractional reserve banking, in my opinion, right? This is like fractional reserve gig work, right? You could call it that, right? Part of the reason I do the art projects is kind of to hedge against the uncertainty with how much work I might get at the college, right? When I get more work at the college, I'll tone down the art projects and vice versa, right? That way I can have an even keel amount of productivity, right? That's what I'm shooting for, at least, right? The truth is that even when I'm overwhelmed at the community college, there's always time for art projects anyway, right? It's kind of like eating disorders, right? Have you ever noticed that if you try to add more variety to your diet, how you can be stuffed with, let's say I love sushi, right? I especially like raw salmon because tuna can be high in mercury, right? Salmon is way lower in mercury. And I can be stuffed with raw salmon and still find room for something else, right? Bananas or I'm trying to think what else I like to eat. You get the idea, right? I find variety doesn't work very well for me. If I focus on one food, I find I'll eat a lot less. What I try to do is instead of having variety in a day, I spread out my variety across a week or a month, right? One day I just focus on salmon. The next day I focus on the bananas and vice versa. I find I can eat a lot healthier that way. Otherwise, if I eat a variety on one day, I'll just eat 10 times more food, right? So it's kind of like that, right? The truth is that as I can be burned out with the community college and still find room in my life for art, and vice versa, right? I can be burned out from art. Someday, I'll be making 6 figures a year on my art project. I'll be working 70 hours a week on it, and I'll still look for a job at the community college. At that point, I won't care so much if the contract gets canceled, right? I won't sign up for more than I can work for it, certainly, right? I would sign maybe 1 or 2 contracts, and if they get canceled, so be it, right? I'll probably be more disappointed that I didn't get to work with these beautiful students, right? I probably wouldn't be financially hurt, at least, right? But you get the idea, right? And so, oh god, what was I talking about? So it's given me a lot of flexibility, but unfortunately, no connections. Right. It's not so much money that I can go out there. I never understand how people have so much money for their social lives. I was upset the other day about how meetup.com now requires you to pay just to send messages. And I was talking to some people at the group, and they all seem to have the sentiment that the amount was like no big deal. Right. And this ditto with various social events. I was talking to a friend of mine about how a lot of times I'm at various restaurants or when I order food somewhere, how because of my allergies, people often don't treat me very nice, and oftentimes the portion sizes are not very good, right? And I'm not joking. Let's say I go to a Thai restaurant, right, and I need to avoid certain ingredients, and I ask them just please be mindful, right, about cross contamination and all that. And they take it out on the portion sizes. I'm not joking. Some restaurants will do that, And it's not an uncommon circumstance. I mean, I still go out to eat from time to time because I need the social connections, but I can scarcely afford to do that because of situations like that, and it doesn't feel like a full meal. I still got to eat something else. And I was talking to a friend about this, and his response was to kind of poo-poo it, like, so what? It's only a few bucks or something like that. I don't know. Uh, but I don't know how the rest of their financial lives look like, so I won't comment too much about that. But I wish I could be doing it more. Even if I do get ripped off at these places, it's still nice, right? I can't tell you how many times on a given Saturday afternoon, just going to the restaurant and interacting with somebody there. It might be the only conversation I have that isn't related to work all week long, right? But I wish I could afford to do that more, right? So continue to pray for my art projects. Uh, Pray that, well, I talked about this on my last video. Pray that I just go on a date of some sort, right? I'm even offering a reward for anybody who can match me up with that. Go watch my last video. I want to do that before Thanksgiving. So between now and Thanksgiving, if I don't get a whole lot of word on that, I might raise the reward a little bit, right? Don't expect too much, but maybe raise it by a small amount. After all, I am kind of not. I could be doing financially better, right? But I do want to recognize that this is important to me. All right. Continue to pray for my art career. Oh, this is a masterpiece. I'm going to have a hard time selling any of this. Although now that I know how to do it even better, the ones that I didn't do so well are going to be easier for me to get rid of, right? All right, can't wait for that art show. And it's really funny. Ever since I started my art career, well, like I alluded to, I've become very stingy, in large part because I'll look at a sum of money that I need to spend, and in relation to that is how much art supplies I could buy, or whether it be precious metals, whether it be foil paper, frames, Legos, and I just keep translating. Every time I hear a dollar amount, I just translate it to stuff like that. It got really comical last year. I was talking to a coworker who was talking to me about investing in real estate and all that, and so he had mentioned how much he had spent improving his home, and I translated to, well, that's 2 tons of bismuth right there, and he laughed at me. He said, "What am I going to do with 2 tons of bismuth?" And I said, "Well, you can make stuff out of it and decorate your home, right?" And then he mentioned, then I'll have to lift it all around, and someday I'm going to break an arm, and my healthcare bill is going to be even more tons of bismuth, right? That was kind of funny. And then later that week, he was getting ready for Christmas vacation. He told me that he had booked a trip. He got a good deal on an airline ticket. How much bismuth is that, by the way? He asked me that. That was kind of funny. And so we turned bismuth into a currency. But now even the other art supplies have become their own de facto currency in my life, right? I'll literally go to the dining hall at the campus, and as I'm paying for my meal, in the back of my mind, I'm handing over bismuth, silver, or wooden plywood blocks, foil paper, and Legos, right? In my mind, right? In fact, I'm not even going to translate it. For the reward in my last video, I even just straight up offered precious metals. Go watch the video on the reward. I don't want to repeat all the. I'm trying to be in a good mood right now and not talk about what I lack. So please continue to pray for my art projects by leaving a dislike on this video. This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.